Welcome to a new episode of Flowcast. Today we're going to Tokyo to meet Gretchen Jude, a composer and sound artist from Salt Lake City who found a major core hiding inside a hydropower plant and built an act of remystification around it. You can read the full interview and some extra notes from Gretchen on our Substack page at artmusicscience.substack.com. Now let's hear from Gretchen. Thanks for joining. Well, let's start with first question. Tell us about yourself, who you are, what you do.
Yeah. So I guess I mainly identify myself as an experimental artist. I mainly work with sound and voice, kind of juxtaposing voice and electronics a lot of the time. And I really love to, I include field recording as a subcategory of electronics myself. I think that, visual and proprioceptive elements are really also central to my working process. So sort of, the senses, right? Kinesthesia. And this is probably what's drawn me into composing for dance and film, which is one of my main professional work. So professionally, I am an assistant professor of film and media arts in Utah in the United States. And I teach, sound for film, kind of those sorts of classes there. I have also spent a lot of time in Japan. I've lived and worked here a lot. So I kind of have this, artistic home here as well, where I do, a lot of research and performance. So I'm on fellowship here in Tokyo right now.
Oh, great.
Yeah. That's good. So that's about me.
So when you say that you use for your professional activity visuals, I was wondering, so when you started working on our project, you were given some material, not just the field recording, but also a time-lapse video made with the satellite images. I wonder if you used that.
Well, I was really surprised that I didn't actually. I'm not really sure why it was that I saw it and I was like, I think partly because there was just so much in the sound, in the recording itself, that I kept going back to the visual and I was like, I don't really know how to put these two. They seemed quite disparate in my feeling about what it was. I think maybe, the piece itself is called Sink Surface. And I feel like I really just went down into the water in this piece rather than kind of the sort of above, from above visualization of it. Maybe that's why. I don't know. That's just off the top of my head, but yeah. I mean, I loved the colors. I mean, it was very exciting to watch. I'm not sure I understood exactly what the representations were. I think maybe pink is vegetation. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not the scientific head.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'm here for the colors and the music.
Right. So the colors themselves were absolutely wow, astounding. And that kind of the core of the river going, let's say, stable as all of the colors around it flashed. It was very,
Yeah, that's highly significant for the segment that you decided to work on, which is very much anthropomorphized. So the river is channelized, and the only thing that changes, as you said, the colors around it is because the fields, the vegetation, that's the only thing that actually changed. So what drove you to the project and specifically to choose this segment?
That's really interesting because actually it was that sort of, I'm kind of perceiving it as this liminal space, right? The river is at the space where it's not yet like a candidate for sort of renaturalization, but it's also no longer a sort of a truly wild river. It's sort of in this space where it's like, it's really usable for people, right? And so you really hear that in the drone of that power station, which I loved. I think that was the thing that I really, the core of the thing that I really wanted to work with when I heard it. And I think that conceptually goes with what you're just saying about it, being very sort of anthropomorphized. In fact, I use that word, in fact, when I for me, I was imagining, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, but I was imagining the sort of, not in fact, what is the word? Renaturalizing?
I think so, yeah. The renaturalization.
Not renaturalizing. Yeah, not renaturalizing, but instead sort of remystifying the river with these sort of voices that become the or sort of represent the sounding spirits of that river that are in the music. Yeah.
So I was wondering, what about these attracted you to this segment? Because this is a very static part of the river. There are lots of industry, lots of concrete, and there are no plans to restore the ecology of the river, not in this section. Did you know this before you chose it?
No. In fact, there weren't that many images available of the river at that point. I think the images there were mostly of the plant itself, this one of the power stations that you had. But I mean, it was the sort of confluence of nature and technology that is just something that I always come back to as a person who's really interested in electronic music and really interested in natural sounds, including human body sounds, vocal sounds. What is the relationship between those two things? And how can we kind of reconcile that? It seems to me there is one way of looking at it is that there is an inherent conflict or, contrast between those things. But I think that's maybe too easy and too pessimistic. I'm always trying to find a way to harmonize those things instead.
Yeah, because one of the main focuses of this project is also to analyze the relationship between the nature represented here by the river specifically, and humans and the civilization. And one of the questions is there a contrast between human and nature, or does it even make sense to put nature and humans into different places? Because, I mean, we are part of it, aren't we?
Absolutely, yeah. So really, I was imagining, me going, the listener, right? Me as the listener, me as the person taking us into this piece, going down into the water, but also when we go down into the water, encountering that water that's inside of us, right? That's sort of the permeability and the water exchange that happens. I mean, we can't exist without that water exchange. And that's that point at which, there is no actual separation. There is no, the conceptual distinction we make between humans and nature and, technology and natural things is not real. That is a human conceptual construction.
Exactly, yeah. So listening to your composition, I can hear the water sound of the original field recording that blends into a different sound out of which the voice emerged. How did you write that? How did you record that?
In fact, the water sound actually remains through the whole piece. So I do have your recordings through the whole piece. But what I really did was, I didn't even really adjust the volume that much. What I did was I adjusted the EQ very strongly, so that we, I first, we start with that as much as the machine drone as possible. I kind of took it out, then I brought it back in, and then I brought us out of the water, the higher frequencies of the water down, so that we could we experience a sinking down and under that surface noise into something that then I constructed, from voice sounds and from drones that were amplitude peaks that I kind of heard in the original recording, which I think I put the exact...
the frequencies, yeah.
Yeah.
They are in the description and they will be on the Substack article.
Yeah, I was just so surprised how harmonic those were, actually. I really expected it to be quite more dissonant or something more, less rich, actually. But it was quite a beautiful major triad feeling.
Yeah, that was an interesting discovery.
Yeah, it ended up being, and I think it really did push me into a more optimistic direction as well. I mean, it's also a human cultural construction to have a perception of a major triad being happy, but it worked on me, so.
Yeah, or maybe it's very natural, because I've read about an experiment where they were playing minor and major chords to babies with no musical education whatsoever or experience whatsoever. And they noticed how they reacted to major and minor chords. So maybe it's a human natural thing rather than a cultural construct.
Yeah, something built into our perceptual systems. Yeah, so it was process-wise, it was pretty simple. Conceptually, I just did these filter sweeps and then layered in some voices. I did have sort of different vocal styles that I was trying to go with that originally were conceived of as like a more lively voices, more playful, chaotic, and less melodic, and then sort of quote unquote taming them into something more consonant, more harmonic, more human-like. Yeah, so I was playing with those juxtapositions of vocal qualities as a way of sort of inviting different types of water spirits into this imaginary world. But yeah, not sure if that works, but
let's listen to Gretchen's composition, Sink Surface.